Hey, welcome to Three Count Commentaries. This is your boy Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about the return of Seth Rollins and the return of Burning It Down. Okay, so the entire SmackDown locker room empties, except with the exception of Roman Reigns. He's the only one. They even had Sasha Banks out there, which was crazy. Usually the stars don't participate in shit like this, but just about everybody was out there to welcome back Seth Rollins, who came back to the Burn It Down theme, and I think we all were very happy that there was no more Messiah music. I had gotten used to the Messiah music, but we all prefer Burn It Down. I mean, it's just really good. And he's wearing this leather suit, which, uh, he comes out and he's clearly still a heel. He's still got the one black glove. He's still wearing his ugly suit. He's still flooding. And he comes to the ring. And of course, he talks about he has to cut a sermon. You know, this has become Seth Rollins. He just refused to change. So he talks about how good it is to be back. You know, he's a father now and how his baby changed his life. And now he has a new vision. And his new vision he said he looked at this roster and he could see the most talented people in the entire business, the entire industry, and wanted to know where he fits in this entire business, in this industry, now that he's on SmackDown, since he sacrificed himself at the Survivor Series. And so he started saying, like, he's been given a new vision. He wants to be SmackDown's great leader. He wants to take SmackDown to the next level. He wants to be a father and a mentor to the SmackDown locker room, and people just started walking out. And the crazy thing is, he was so wrapped up in what he was saying, he didn't notice that people walked off until, you know, until near the end when nobody was there. And I think they've done this before with Seth Rollins, where he did his Sermon on the Mount, and people just was like, pfft, and they all leave. It always works on me, dog. I love when people walk out when other folks are talking, and because he is talking bullshit. So you do kind of like, he's a televangelist. So you're supposed to be like, you know, what is this guy talking about? Why are we out here wasting our time with this? Like, I would have liked for them to explain why everybody came out there. You know, maybe they was trying to congratulate him on the baby or something like that, and that's why they was trying to go out there. And you know, I don't like that he didn't explain it, because otherwise you have to explain why baby faces and heels are out there. You know, like, everybody can celebrate the birth of a child. You know, you can put away your petty grievances. Like, nobody set nobody on fire and they were out there standing arm in arm, right? So you can set apart your petty grievances to celebrate this guy who just, your coworker, you know, who just let's just use a different word, a colleague, a peer who just had a baby. And we're going to support this guy who's returning to work after having a baby. We're all going to come out here. We're going to applaud that he just had a new baby and how it changed his life. And he's got a new, he got his old Babyface theme song back. Of course, he came out still wearing the one glove, wearing the ugly suit. It was really leathery. God, it was like a couch. It was like he was wearing a couch. It was terrible. But like Jimmy Hart said, man, you look like everybody else. They treat you like everybody else. So he comes out. He's wearing a couch. He's wearing like a whole love seat on his back. Got to be hot. And so Cesaro's the only one left. And Cesaro's just kind of standing there, and he's looking, and he's unsure. Like, he's looking at Rollins, and Rollins is like, I knew you would embrace my vision. I knew you would understand. More than anybody, you would understand. Now, the crazy thing is, Buddy Murphy was out there. Buddy Murphy has not been on SmackDown since before Rollins left. So I thought, when I saw Murphy, I was like, okay, I know what we're about to do here. Now we're about to go back to the Murphy and Rollins thing and finish that up. It's not what happened. Instead, it was Cesaro. I was like, okay, cool. Now, he's trying to talk to Cesaro, and Cesaro's just like, look, I'm out of here. We're done. I'm leaving. And Rollins attacked Cesaro. Of course he did. You rejected him. Of course he's going to attack you. He hit him in the knee, stomped him, and punched him and stuff like that. Says you will not never fulfill your full potential without me. This is for your own good. You'll never fulfill your full potential without me. So we got Rollins. He comes back and it's looking like he's going to feud with Cesaro. Now Cesaro later comes into gets in the Elimination Chamber match. So what are we going to do? All right. So I did Cesaro wins, gets into the Elimination Chamber. Daniel Bryan comes out and helps Cesaro. So we got these two guys and we got Seth Rollins. So now we're looking at a situation where maybe Roman's going to get one of these guys and therefore Seth Rollins will get the other one. Now, of course, this is like Ring of Honor guys playing Ring Around the Rosie, working with other Ring of Honor guys, but this works. Okay, for starters, if I'm a mark for any one wrestler in WWE, it's Seth Rollins. I'm a big fan of Seth Rollins. I always have been since his Shield days. I typically think that he's he's probably the top performer as far as all around males in the WWE. And he's kind of been shackled with the Messiah thing. I think he's been doing okay with it. Only problem is the promos are just entirely too long and they were very vague. Now we seem to have a little bit more focus that he wants to be the great leader. It's going to clash with Roman's vision because Roman is also, he's the king. So they're both kind of going off of king archetypes. And that can work, but eventually it's going to clash. So they kind of have to set up different dominions so they won't be able to cross paths as much as they're going to have to act like the other one doesn't exist. We're going to put it like that. Like Corbin, he is King Corbin, but he doesn't really operate like a king. He just operates as a guy with a king gimmick. When you have like the king energy, you set a dominion. Like you have a sphere of influence. And everybody within your sphere of influence, you have like control over. And if Rollins can set up like a sphere of influence where he has a certain amount of guys that he's going to work with, and these are different guys than the guys that Roman are working with, then you can really have both of these guys on the roster at the same time. Now, eventually they're going to clash because this can't last forever with both of them being heels. Can they work together? Sure, but it's going to be a clash of egos. And it's going to obviously be a situation where one of them is going to have to sublimate himself to the other one. You can't have two alphas in one pack. So that's going to be a question, that Rollins is clearly going to still be a heel, but he needs, he's going to need a strong babyface to work with. And they picked Cesaro right out of the gate for him to attack. But they also put Cesaro in the Elimination Chamber match. So here's my thinking is maybe Rollins is going to be the reason Cesaro doesn't make it. Because this is a thing where he says, you'll never fulfill your full potential without me. So maybe he's going to attack Cesaro and have him taken out of that match. Is that possible? My answer is probably. Now, in my video, when I talked about the Elimination Chamber, I said that Cesaro could possibly be one of the guys at the end that could just plain lose to Roman. Because I definitely think it's going to be a babyface. I picked Daniel Bryan, but it's possible it could be Kevin Owens. But I think that also you have to take into account that Seth Rollins may take out Cesaro, because everybody rejected him, Cesaro being the one guy who rejected him sort of harder than everyone else because he lingered, but it makes sense. Now, also within this archetype, this archetypal structure, is you have sort of the magician, which is actually it fits the leader, mentor, role model archetype a lot better than the king. And if there were to be a situation for Roman and Seth to actually work together, Seth could easily switch to being more of a magician, and that's really what Rollins was before. He was a liar, a manipulator. He leading people astray, different stuff like that. Now, when you do, when he says he wants to be the leader of the father, that's the alpha energy, that's the king energy. If you want to manipulate people, try to use their goodwill against them, or their faith in you, their trust in you, use that against them, that's more manipulation. Rollins is now trying to force people to follow him, you know. So he's sort of on a different level than Roman. Roman did this already, right? He did it to Jey Uso. So we're going back to that same sort of story building. And now it's just Seth Rollins doing it to Cesaro. Now, you have the pay-per-view is next weekend. So that means if Rollins is going to do something to Cesaro, it costs Cesaro the match or something, he either has to do it next week on SmackDown, or he has to do it at the actual event. Now, if you're going to have Cesaro versus Rollins going forward, it would be interesting to have, Rollins maybe hit Cesaro on the knee with a pipe or something. Not doing something drastic like run him over with his car. Like that's something that's just asinine. But like attacking him before the match or something like that to get Cesaro taken out, and then we replace him with somebody else. That would be interesting. But I think that the whole idea that Rollins is now going to try to prevent Cesaro from fulfilling his potential, because you never can fulfill your potential without me, is going to be the storyline. And I'm good with that because it keeps Cesaro from going to the main event. It keeps him busy. It keeps him from having something to do. Instead of, being in these positions and constantly losing and stuff like that, he gets to have an excuse. Like he's dealing with Seth Rollins and Seth Rollins won't go away, won't leave him alone. So that's interesting. How long can this last? Assuming they do something major, let's say, that Rollins does screw Cesaro out of his match at the Elimination Chamber, and then they have to wrestle at Fastlane or something. I think Fastlane is in mid-March, late March, because that's the launch for the Peacock thing. I think it's late March 21st, I believe it is. So it's like almost a full month away after Elimination Chamber. So you have to do something. It has to be like an injury angle where Cesaro cannot wrestle for a while, and you put Cesaro on some crutches or something like that for a little bit, and then he heals up just before his Fastlane. They have the match at Fastlane, but I got a feeling that they're probably going to do some really rush job, like, oh, he's not medically cleared tonight to wrestle, but then he can wrestle Seth Rollins on SmackDown, for 15 minutes or some shit, which is typical WWE booking. Like sometimes when I'm fantasy booking in my head stuff, I'm looking at it like you would do in a traditional wrestling territory. Like you would take time, you would put a thumb in the eye. The guy's gone for like 4 weeks, and then he comes back with an eye patch or something like that, and he's ready to kill people. Like Aleister Black, who I also thought was going to show up tonight, and it didn't happen. And that's what I look, when it comes to Aleister Black, I fully understand what's going on. You got this thing with his wife, and it was an ugly situation. Who knows what's going on in that household? When she mentioned the word union, and then she says, "Oh, I've been working with SAG and all that type of stuff," that pretty much killed his career. This wouldn't be the first time. But I thought that that's what we were going to do with Seth Rollins. I thought like when Rollins came back and he was going to go right back to doing his Sermon on the Mount shit. And, that people need to follow him. He has a new vision or whatever. I thought that he was going to, Aleister Black was going to attack him. And that would have been boss. That would have been badass. It would have made perfect sense too. Because you have the lingering feud between the two already. And then you also have like the embracing the new vision, which is a double play on words because Rollins has been taking people's eyeballs out, So that was an interesting idea that I thought was going to take place. And it would have fit perfectly, to have Aleister Black attack Seth Rollins or return to attack Seth Rollins. And look, until he's actually released, I'm guessing I'm just going to keep saying maybe it's going to happen. Maybe they've already soft released Aleister Black and he's not. They haven't announced. Like I've heard that WWE has started. They announced that Lars Sullivan was fired, that he was released, but they never announced it. I don't think that they would release Aleister Black and not announce it. You know, Lars Sullivan was a guy who was already controversial anyway. Maybe they just thought, whatever, go home, do your thing. But until they actually announce that Aleister Black is gone, I wouldn't continue to be like, well, he's not ever coming back. Because the only way you can not come back is if you got released. If you're sitting at home or you're showing up and you're just sitting and catering, there's always an opportunity that you're going to show up. But, like Buddy Murphy hadn't been there in a long time, and there he was on TV too. And I thought, he was another one that I thought they maybe was going to do something with. But you've done Rollins and Murphy to death. They've been hanging out all summer of 2020, hell, most of the year of 2020. And it didn't really do Murphy any good. It's like something about Smackdown. That the moment Buddy Murphy was moved to Smackdown, it was over for his push. I don't know what it is about the Smackdown team or the idea of him being on Smackdown, but it's same thing with Aleister Black. The moment they went to Smackdown, it was over. Like, whatever they had going on, all the momentum they had was done. It was just done. And I don't know what it is. It sucks. It sucks for those guys. But until you're actually released, there's always an opportunity for you to move forward. And people will say, "Oh no," but you can't be captured by the moment. That's one thing I always try to tell wrestling fans, man. You can't be captured in the moment. There's a lot of guys who are healthy scratches from events. They don't do anything, and then out of nowhere, look at Jinder Mahal. Guy was a healthy scratch from shows. He was a job guy. Now he comes back out of nowhere from being injured, worked the main event. These things happen. Wrestling is a weird business like that. Like, you think a guy has natural momentum that you would put him in a position so his momentum can continue or something like that, but that's not how you book the show. Like, I want to take a moment to mention it. Probably shouldn't do that here, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There was a lot of people who was talking about like why Lashley wouldn't be in the Elimination Chamber match, and why wouldn't Big E be in the Elimination Chamber match. You have to understand, if you're trying to get somebody to build some momentum, you would not put them in matches that they cannot win or they're not going to win. Like that should be common sense. Like, that's booking 101. You wouldn't put a guy in the Elimination Chamber match like Lashley, who you've been giving him all this momentum. Why the fuck would you put him in a match where you can only lose by pinfall or submission, and then he's not going to win the match? That means he's going to get pinned or submitted. So, like, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. So, you wouldn't do that. That's booking and writing 101. You wouldn't have somebody that you don't want to get put in a position where they have to get beat. So that's common sense. And I think that type of situation is what we're dealing with in some of these cases where, they're not doing things in a traditional way. But it's been looking really weird that, listen, until somebody is actually released, I don't know. But Aleister Black is a curious case. And I think that the moment his wife started talking about unions and shit, it was over with. And this, like I said, it's not the first time. Aleister Black just seems to be one guy out of many guys who think that their relationship is going to transcend the business, and it kind of does. And, he's going to stick with his wife. He feels like they mistreated his wife, and now he doesn't want to work there, or he doesn't want to work on that roster, or something like that. They won't move back to NXT. There's always an opportunity he could go back to NXT. Who knows? They may loosen that up. Maybe Triple H pulls some strings to get some move back to NXT. Who knows? I have no idea. But I did think that this was a perfect spot to bring back Aleister Black if you were going to bring him back. But I guess they're just not going to. So it is what it is. Thank you guys for listening. Like this video. Share this video. Subscribe to the channel. Use the hashtag 3ContCommentaries to support the channel. I'll talk to you guys later, man. And if you want to send me money, you want to buy me lunch, the Cash App is open. The tip jar is in the description. Thank you guys again, and I'll talk to you guys later.